What's going on, YouTube world? How y'all doing? Checking in. Got a treat for y'all today. Got a little tabletop, really just more of a story I want to get into about my favorite Glock. You know, I've been, dealing with firearms legally since I was 21 years old. I did my research back then. I say 21 years old for me would have probably been about 2004. I turned 21. And around that time, I did my research on what handguns to get. Now, I started off, to be honest with y'all, my first handgun, to be honest, was a High Point. And I know High Point is a cheap, El Cheapo. But when it comes down to being armed, I'd rather have something than nothing. And at that time, it was, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from the inner city, and at that time, your safety was paramount. And so having a firearm, whether it cost $150 or $550, still could mean the difference between life and death. And so at that time, I chose to go for a High Point for my birthday, and I went on and got a 9mm High Point CF9 at that time. Yeah, that was a real good gun for me at that time as an introduction into the firearms world as a concealed carry participant. But upon that, I learned the tiers of weapons when it comes to firearms, be it High Point, moving up the ladder from that to Ruger, to maybe Taurus, Ruger, and then finally stepping into the echelon of M&Ps, Glocks, and XDs. And I did my research, and back then the internet wasn't as big in '04 as it is now. And when I say that, I mean you couldn't just jump on a YouTube site and Google whatever firearm and see people shooting it, see people at the range, putting targets down, putting rounds down target. Just the wealth of information at that time was not as plentiful as it is now, as far as when it comes down to visual. But you did have what you call forums, where you could jump onto these chat forums and you could, type in certain questions and people will respond to you back and forth, almost like a chat room. And so I would jump into these forums and just look at the threads that people have already put in there. And I was looking for the best Glock. I'm thinking 45 was probably the best Glock at that time, a 45 caliber. And I just started seeing what people were responding to that about, because I was interested in upgrading my duty weapon, not duty weapon, but my carry weapon, from a High Point to something a little bit better. And so I had already stepped into a Ruger P90, which is a 45. And I liked how the 45 was. I liked it, just the comfort of that round. So I was already thinking like Glock 21. And when I jumped in these forums, someone was saying, I saw a lot of threads that was saying Glock 10mm, Glock 20, Glock 29, the Pitbull, things of that nature. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking a Glock 10mm is just, maybe slightly more powerful than a 9mm. And so, it just never dawned on me. I had never did my research into the caliber. And then upon me doing more research and digging, I discovered that the 10mm was a hell of a round. It's a kick-ass round. The FBI, the history of them adopting the round back in the early 90s. And they gave up on the round because it was, a lot more overpowered for a lot of their agents to carry, females and men with hands that, really couldn't support, the recoil. And so, they shortened it down to the 40 Smith & Wesson, which is the 40 short and weak, which was what they called it, to give them more of a better grip on being able to handle the recoil and still having a lot more, being more of an effective round than the 9mm at the time for the ammo that was available in the early 90s. And so me just doing my research on the 10mm, to make a long story short, I really was impressed with just the feedback about the round. So I went on and went to Cabela's. I started driving trucks about 15 years ago. And so I used to be all over the road. And so I would stop at different Cabela's and just see what they got, stop in. I wouldn't necessarily buy anything, but I just would stop in. And when I saw the rounds of buffalo bore and a lot of these big bore, these heavier rounds that they made for 10 millimeter and the versatility of it. When I did my research, you could do hunting with a Glock 20. 10 millimeter, you could, especially take deer. A 10 millimeter probably would take anything within North America if with the right shot placement. And so I've, shout out to Iraq veteran 8888. I've been a long time patron of their store. Shout out to Moss Gun and Pun and Guns out in Jonesboro, Georgia as well. R.I.P. Barry too as well. He's been passed about a few years now, but a 10 millimeter can pretty much take down anything in North America, from elk to deer to a bear if need be. Anything that you need to eliminate, it pretty much should take it. And it's really supposed to be on par with the 41 Magnum. But a lot of people compare it to the 357 Magnum as well, just in an auto-loader version. So you get 15 rounds plus one. This is mine right here. I should have took it out. Glock 20. See if we can get a good view of that. I do have a blue laser at the bottom. It's plug-in charge. So you just plug in right here, and it takes USB. See if I can get that in there. Yeah, right here. And it takes a USB adapter that plugs into your regular phone charger to charge the blue laser. This is Gen 5 10 millimeter Glock 20. It's a pretty nice gun. Let's go ahead and do a safety check. It is clear. You use hollow points in it. Like I said, it's 15 plus 1, and just overall, just an awesome weapon. Great ergonomics. You get everything that the Glock gives you, of course, but you get the versatility of the 10 millimeter round, which I just generally prefer. And the reason why is because the 10 millimeter round is just not only that, just in this package as well. Because they used to have the Colt Delta Elite, and they used to have the EA Witness and a lot of other platforms that offered this cartridge. But the Glock just handles the recoil so much better because, like I said, the Buffalo board from Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop and Corbin and some of y'all might be familiar with Double Tap out of Alaska. These are a lot of the earlier rounds back in the mid 2000s that popped up just to give you a more hardier offering with the Glock 20, and just the versatility. Like I said, this is the same slide that goes on the Glock 21, so you can use a Glock 21 barrel, which I have swapped out in here at times. And so with the Glock 20, you can swap out for the Glock 21 barrel. You also, with this not this particular setting, but you can also buy a 40 caliber round, 40 caliber barrel for this as well. So you can use 40, 10 millimeter, and 45 ammunition in one weapon if you get the different barrels for them, so they interchange. And so like I say, I have swapped out the Glock 21 plenty of times with that. Like I say, this is the king Glock to me. It's pretty much stood the test of time. It's been my first Glock. It actually was my first Glock. Not this one per se. I've had many Glock 20s, but this Glock 20 second generation was my first one. And I just, definitely will have to have one in my arsenal, in my collection, just because of the sentimental value with me, the versatility of it. It could be your everyday carry, but I think it's a little too much for everyday carry. It could be home defense. It can be hunting. It could be your survival weapon, as far as your personal firearm. But I just can't say enough about it. I'm not gonna make this too long and draw it out. I was just doing basically a review. I'll do a range review on the next video. If you guys like what I'm doing, it's my first time really getting out here doing a lot of public speaking on camera. So it's my first time, and bear with me. I got a lot more videos, a lot more content coming. I'm gonna be doing a lot more tabletop reviews, a lot more storytelling with firearms, as well as putting some rounds down range. So y'all stick with me, like, subscribe, share if you can. Y'all have a great day. Be safe out there. Yeah.